Let's have a session on methods of growth. So there's 4 methods of growth to be aware of: mergers, takeovers, as joint ventures or JVs, and franchising. Let's go through each of them. So the first one is mergers. So mergers is a combination of 2 or more companies into a single entity to create a larger, more competitive organisation. Why you do that? Well, you're likely to get cost savings by turning into one bigger business. You might get efficiency gains, economies of scale. It could be purchasing or technical or even managerial. Increased market power because you've brought together both of your market shares, so you would increase your market power. The problems of mergers are the possibility of cultural clashes when those 2 or more companies move together. And so those cultural clashes might prevent the intended benefits, being those things above. Evaluation points to think about with mergers. Well, it depends on the planning of the merger. It depends on the implementation of the merger with respect to those cultural clashes and the risk of those cultural clashes. And the last thing to think about is regulatory sign-off. It's very possible in the UK, the Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, they might stop a merger from occurring. So you'd want to see if that's going to happen. On the other side, we're going to think about takeovers. So takeovers is when one company purchases the majority of another company's shares to gain control of that other company. Advantages of doing the takeover from the takeover's point of view, or the takeoverer, which will be quick access to brand new markets. They're not going to organically grow them, they're just going to speed up the process by externally growing through a takeover. Accessing those new markets, it could be those new technologies, it could be new talents in the new company that they've purchased, that they have acquired, and that would eliminate rivals. Now, many of the advantages here are to do with horizontal and vertical integration. For more details on that, click the card up there. Now, disadvantages of takeovers, well, it could be a danger of overpaying for the takeover, like what's the cost that you're paying for that? It could also be the resistance from employees from when the takeover happens. That could be the resistance from the new business that's been acquired, or even your own employees and their thoughts on the particular takeover, especially if you've overpaid for it. Evaluation points to think about takeovers, well, the valuation of that business that you've acquired versus the cost that you've paid for it. And that will, of course, potentially be to do with a market capitalisation if you're talking about a public limited company. More details on market capitalisation, the formula cards up there. Last thing to think about is if you're going to do the takeover, do you have enough funds, finances to do that? And that might result in acquiring those funds through either debt or equity. If you're acquiring them from debt, you might want to look at your current gearing ratio. You might want to look at the current interest rates to see if it makes sense to pursue that route to finance the takeover. Joint ventures, that's when 2 or more companies create a new subsidiary company. Advantages of that, well, sharing of resources, also sharing of risks and expertise while entering the brand new market that you're looking to enter together. Problems of that, well, the possibility of conflicts between these 2 or more companies. That could be conflicts in decision making, conflicts in control, and also conflicts in profit sharing. Should it be 50-50? Depends what you're bringing to the table. Evaluation points to think about for joint ventures. Well, how well aligned are the 2 or more companies? And is there effective communication between these 2 companies, the partners that are in the JV? Because if there's not, it poses a risk. The final type of growth is franchising. So franchising is when a franchisor grants the rights to operate under their brand. That's the franchisor. And with franchising, it's all from the perspective of the business that owns the franchise. So the advantages are rapid, quick, super fast expansion, and also super fast expansion with minimal capital investment, because it's the franchisee that will be paying for the opportunity to have those rights, the fee, of course, the franchise fee, to have the rights to operate under that brand's name. Other advantages from the franchisor's perspective will be to utilise local expertise, because the franchisee might have expertise in a certain area and they will go out and succeed, hopefully, in that particular area from the franchisor's perspective. Disadvantages, well, always with franchising is the consistency in quality across all the different locations, which leads to one of the evaluation points to think about is there effective quality control, QC, in place to be able to check on this consistency to ensure it's there, because consistent quality is clearly very, very important. Other things to think about is choosing the right franchisee. So it could be essentially in the selection process, like is there a robust, a rigorous selection process to ensure that you are choosing from the franchisor's perspective the correct franchisees. Hope that helps. See you at the next sesh.